Netflix's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2 first look is finally here. We've been waiting so long for this, nobody knows what's been going on with Season 2 of this show, but now finally we have some images from the season, we have some awesome connections, we have some news about what happened to the writer of Season 1, he's actually gone, we have the release date of the series, you're gonna like it, and we have a poster of the full Team Avatar and it's getting a lot of criticism. So hit that subscribe button and we're gonna break down absolutely everything that was just revealed today about the Season 2 of Netflix's Last Airbender. So I'm gonna put it on screen now, but you can see the first one is AZULA. And this is actually very interesting. You can see, first of all, she looks great. The outfit's looking great. And you can see her doing a pose here with her left hand over her left eye. And this is not just a random pose. This actually happened in the original animated series. And this one comes from, of course, an episode of Book 2, and that is obviously The Chase. And you can see AZULA doing it there in the animated show, and right next to it, you can see what it looks like in the Netflix show. So it looks like maybe in Season 2, they're actually going to be going for a more one-to-one adaptation. We know that in Season 1, they did a lot of compression, a lot of mixing together storylines and plot lines to get everything fit into the same time. Although really that doesn't really make sense because they have the same runtime anyway, so they could have fit everything together if they wanted to, but it looks like this season is going to have much more connectivity to the animated show. Then after that we can see, of course, Prince Zuko, and now he looks great in this shot, and you can see that this is also in an Earth Kingdom village, and that makes total sense because this is Book 2, of course. And this could be on during Zuko's lost days or Zuko alone, because we know that that's pretty much the only time, apart from a few other exceptions, where Zuko is not wearing his full Fire Nation attire, so this actually could be from that series of events. And now one thing I really want to point out is the scar. In Season 1, many people were not happy with the scar at all. They thought it looked cheap, fake, worse than the one in the live action Shyamalan movie, but this one is getting a lot of praise. They've clearly updated the scar and it looks good in this image, but even without color correction, it looks even better. I'm going to show you a tweet from my good friend the Avatarist here, and he made a comment on this and he absolutely loves it. So you can see right there, he says, "I don't care if it's a retcon or whatever, the new scar is so much better, fire emoji." And that's the shot that's gone through post-processing. The one that's non-color corrected he likes even more, and he says the pre-color corrected scar kind of looks even better. And I have to agree, it looks red, it looks exactly like it should in live action. It doesn't look exactly like it is in the show, but that doesn't matter because this is a live action adaptation. They should try and use the benefits of the medium that they're using, which is live action. So if they can make it look more like a real scar than they could in animation, they should definitely do that. Now I'm going to get to all the major reveals that we see in the trailer later on, which they just released a new fresh look, but first I've got to show you the full Team Avatar poster. Now they all look great, the costumes are looking good. I think they could be a little more worn, but they're all overall looking pretty good. But the one thing that everybody who's seen it has been saying in the comments is that Aang looks way too old in this and that they waited way too long to film it. And actually I have to agree with this. I did actually call this a few videos ago, a few months ago, where I said that Aang may be turning into a boomer in this show. Of course that was a joke the way I phrased it, but there was some truth behind that because Aang's looking old and he doesn't really match with the appearance of Season 1 because there was a huge gap in filming. Now the good news is they've already filmed Season 3 back to back with Season 2, meaning that Aang won't be aging anymore for Season 3. So if they waited anything longer, he'd look like 50 years old. So his look in Season 3 is going to be good, but I think many are worried that he's going to look too old for the kind of humor and stuff that they have to do in Season 2, but I think they may have to cut some of that stuff out because that's how they've been doing it in Season 1. But anyway, I don't think it looks too bad. Let me know what you think of this Avatar poster in the comments. Now let's get to the juicy details. The release date is June 25 and it will cover all of the events of Book 2 Earth, minus probably the Great Divide. I mean, they're definitely going to cut some of those episodes. I hope the fortune teller's in there. I think she's going to be weaved in somehow, but I don't think it's going to be a main plot point like it was in the animated show, like an actual episode. Now, before we get to the trailer, I have to talk about the good part. The good news is that Albert Kim has stepped down and he was the showrunner for Season 1. Now, I didn't really like Season 1. I didn't think it was that good. It didn't really hit the beats of the original series in a way that portrayed the characters well, despite having all the same amount of runtime. I just don't think it weaved the needle well enough. I think it was boring towards the end and a lot of people dropped off. If you look at the viewership numbers, the viewership of Season 1 really dropped off towards the end. And I have to say that's on Albert Kim, the showrunner, because the real weakness was the writing. It wasn't the acting. It wasn't really the bending effects. They looked great. It was the writing, sadly. The other awesome thing is, of course, that Toph will be joining us, played by Maya Chek. Now, let's get to the trailer because you can see a bit more of her in there and she looks absolutely fantastic. Moving around in the costume, and she looks blind in this as she should, but this is absolutely perfect. So there's a lot of shots here. You can see on screen now that Toph looks sick bending, and there's a few other things that we've got some new reveals for in the trailer footage. So let's go through them. So the first thing is that we now have confirmation that Professor Zay, or at least the Desert Ark, will be showing up in Season 2. They will be adapting that from the animated series. You can see Aang talking to Professor Zay here, or that's either a sandbender. The only thing that's making me not think it is Professor Zay is he doesn't have the hat, but I can't remember if he had that in the start of the episode when they met him at the bar, or when he was telling him about his university studies. So I don't actually know if this is him, but I'm 99% certain. After that, we get a really funny part, which is Judy and the Ba Sing Se house. They will be going to the Ba Sing Se house. house, which is where so much stuff happened that was hilarious in book 2. You can see Judy there. She's obviously introducing them to the house, and this is probably just before they find out how creepy and sketchy she actually is. After that, we get the Boulder. Really cool to see him, or at least this is one of the wrestlers if it's not the Boulder, but if it is him, this is looking awesome. I can't wait to see the Royal Rumble style scene where Toph is obviously fighting and then she gets picked up and noticed by Team Avatar. And then there's a shot on the blue screen which we absolutely have to talk about, and that's Zuko doing crazy fighting in front of the blue screen with his long hair, and it looks like he's not in his Fire Nation outfit, so I'm going to say that this could be in the Crystal Catacombs at the end of season 2. This could be where the things happen and they go down inside the Crystal Catacombs, where Aang obviously dies for a little bit and then is brought back, where Zuko unfortunately fails in his redemption and goes back, and where everything's going to go down. Of course, this could just be season 3. They are filming those two together, so this could be a scene from season 3, but I think the trailer that they've put out is only going to be season 2 stuff because that's what they're promoting right now. Now, we also have Ursa here. I think this is Ursa in this shot here next to Ozai. This would be absolutely awesome. We know that there are flashbacks to Ursa's life in this. I don't know if they're going to hint at anything from the comics, which are the Search comics, where they're searching for Zuko's mum. If they include any of that story, maybe they want to tie into that to give a kind of foreshadowing to what happens in those comics. I'm not too certain, but for sure, if that is Ursa, she's looking great. And for all these observations, I want to thank Koratos. He's a great Avatar YouTuber. Go check him out, and thank you for these observations. After that, I have to mention that we do get a scene where we see Toph in the full makeup that we see from that party infiltration scene when they're trying to go meet the Earth King. You can see Toph in full makeup there, and that looks absolutely awesome. So maybe that they've done the full makeup there. Maybe, just maybe they're going to slip the Tales of Ba Sing Se in somewhere. We can get that awesome moment of Iroh mourning the loss of his son, Lu Ten. I really hope we get to see that. I don't think they'll find time for it, but if they do, I really hope they do it well and that they do it respectfully and that it looks awesome. Finally, I just want to note something that a lot of fans have noticed, and that is that Suki's headpiece actually looked way better in season 1. In season 1, you can see it's a full headpiece, pretty much exactly how it looked in the animated show, but in these season 2 shots here that we see, it's just turned into a tiara. So I don't know if they're going to add that back in post. I mean, that doesn't make sense of why they would do that, but people are saying that this is a massive downgrade for Suki's headpiece and that it doesn't really match what her culture and tradition was. So what do you think in the comments? You let me know. Of course, then we can't go without mentioning that the title of the series has now been changed in theme. It went from the kind of white-red title from last season into now, to match the theme of book 2, Earth, it's now a green jade type of title. This looks absolutely awesome, fits perfectly, and all the characters are looking great in the poster. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that they say the sets aren't the only thing that the series has leveled up for season 2. They say their goal for season 1 was to introduce an audience to this group of characters, blah blah blah, and then season 2, those kids will grow, but that growth isn't in a straight line, and they're really trying to figure out who they are. So they're pretty much telling us that we don't like how we did the characters in season 1, and now in season 2, we've really leveled that up. They're going to have depth, they're going to have emotion, they're going to have an arc. It's not just going to be them telling us stuff. They're actually going to show us stuff instead of just telling. Show, not tell. I hope they can do it because this series really needs to get back on track after season 1. And of course, we're not really getting anything from Avatar Studios until October this year with the Aang movie, so let's hope it's good. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this little breakdown of all the new info from Netflix's live-action Avatar The Last Airbender Season 2, hit that sub button and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, drop a thank Mrs. Toph in the comments down below.